Come see us doing live shows. We'll be in Los Angeles, Honolulu, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets, and only jimmydore.com. So get this. There's this big petition to get them to withdraw the mRNA vaccines, and it's led by some of the top doctors in the world, like this guy, Dr. Asim Melhorta, one of the top cardiologists in the UK. He says, mass appeal to the British government to stop COVID vaccines. The HOPE petition, launched in July and signed by over 2,000 scientists and doctors, has been submitted to the government. The signatories are calling for the withdrawal of approval for mRNA vaccines, highlighting their adverse events. Well, obviously, all those British doctors are idiots for not listening to my brilliant, well-informed Hollywood comedian friends who know better.
Or Bill Gates.
And you can't just be an arrogant snob to pull that off. You have to have zero credentials or knowledge of any sort, and just a handful of friends who agree with you because they don't know shit either. And how about you? I don't want to be alarmist or anything, but the last time we used the word hope, we wound up with Barack fucking Obama. The Hope Accord sounds like someone driving around with a Obama sticker on their Honda. How about, it might have more impact, Doctor, if you called it the fucking Demand Accord.
Yeah.
Not the Hope Petition. Here we go.
The or else petition.
Here's John Campbell's going to describe the Hope Petition.
Well, a warm welcome to this Talk Friday, the 5th of July. Now, I want to bring your attention today to what is basically a new international movement. And it's called this. It's the Hope Accord. Now, this so far has been signed by a lot of people. It was developed by clever doctors and scientists, but it's open for everyone to sign who feels dissatisfied with the status quo that we are currently in. So that's the site there. It's the top of the description. If you want to sign it, you can just click and sign it. Now, I will be showing you the basics of what's in it in just a minute, briefly, but we can see the founding signers here. We've got Dr. Claire Craig, Dr. Sunil Dand, Dr. Joseph Freeman, all of whom we've had the privilege of interviewing on this channel, and Dr. Seymour Hotter, of course, friend of this channel, Dr. Brett Weinstein, Dr. Jackie Stone, whose research from Zimbabwe we've talked about, and many others have signed it. And if you go down, you can see who's signed it. So we see Dr. Rosamund Jones there at the top, who we've also had the pleasure of interviewing on this channel, and lots of other well-known and highly reputable professionals. And if you go further down, then more keep popping up. As you go down, you get more and more people that have signed it. Now, let me just give you the basics of what this is, and you can decide if you'd like to sign, because we want clever doctors, we want clever scientists, and we want people like me and everyone else, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker. We want everyone to sign this to show our dissatisfaction with what is happening and to ask questions. Quick run through of what it is, what the main points are. So the Hope Accord, that's the link there. Point 1, the immediate suspension of COVID-19 mRNA vaccine products. These vaccine products that contain genetic sequences we feel should be suspended, at least for the time being, until we know one heck of a lot more about them. Point 2.
So if you said on social media that it was a gene therapy, you were called a conspiracy theorist and they'd kick you off Twitter.
Yeah. It's a
and
vaccine.
Facebook and Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah. Vaccine, it's normal to get it and then immediately get the thing.
Yeah, that's
standard vaccine.
I was on stage the other night at Flappers in Burbank, and I got to the point in my act where I said, I go, well, there's always some asshole who says, well, it's not supposed to stop you from getting it. It's just supposed to lessen your symptoms. And someone in the crowd go, yeah, that's true.
It didn't. By the way, it didn't.
That's not like how any vaccine I've ever heard of before in my life. Yeah, I just got a mild case of polio. I just got a mild case of smallpox. I just got a mild case. What are you talking about? So that's why they had to change the definition of what a vaccine is. And that's someone who's completely internalized the propaganda, and now they can, I don't know, please don't tell me I'm being lied to. They can't stand it.
Yeah, because they get flu shots. Flu shots was a shoehorn to get that idea of it not working, and that's okay, and because they start calling them flu vaccines. And
because you get the flu vaccine, you get the flu.
Or it's for a flu that there's no way to make one effective.
But that's why I thought it was called the flu shot instead of. That's why I thought It was called the flu shot instead of a flu vaccine because it didn't stop you from getting it.
Well, a lot of these things are marketing and PR and actually not medical, it turns out.
So let's go back and let's get there. He's got more to say. So gene therapy, so that's got genetic components in it.
A comprehensive reevaluation of the safety and efficacy of all COVID-19 vaccine products. It's the second point. So if you agree with this, you are free to sign. Point 3, the immediate recognition and support for the vaccine injured. We've interviewed so many people on this channel with appalling, life-changing vaccine injuries. These people need to be recognised. They did the right thing, as we thought at the time, as we were told at the time. They need to be recognised, diagnosed, and correctly supported. Point 4, the restoration of ethical principles abandoned during the COVID era. So were we in an emergency situation? Well, we could argue that quite long and hard.
Wow. Things that let me just say this. Good luck having the return of ethics to the medical profession. Good luck. You got an easier time getting Alec Baldwin to direct a film without shooting anyone.
This gave him a hot gun, Jimmy.
Yeah. You get this house is a tear down and a start over situation. That's what I think. Here we go.
Yeah.
Were introduced then inconsistent with what has been done really for the last few hundred years in medical practice and in the healthcare professions in general. So we call for the restoration of ethical principles. And point 5, addressing the root cause of our current predicament, which has quite a few strands to it.
Yeah, well, the root cause would be bioweapons being funded by DARPA, the Pentagon, and Fauci lying about using that money to fund the gain-of-function research that led to the creation of the COVID-19 virus in a Wuhan lab. That would be the root cause.
Yeah.
That would be the root cause. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to leave that there as a very brief video. It's on the top of the description if you'd like to sign it. It really is an international movement that's developing, asking these fundamental questions. Now, in the next video, I am going to go through the clauses in some detail. They are all on this site there for you to peruse. And is a very nicely worded document, it has to be said. But for now, if you're interested, go to the site, consider signing as you feel appropriate, and we'll leave it there. But come back for the next video when I'm going to unpack quite a bit of the detail. Thank you for watching, and do click on and read it for yourself.
So now, this is from the Business Standard. Leading doctors sign petition for suspension of all COVID-19 mRNA vaccines. A petition known as the Hope Accord, attracting signatures from around the world, went online recently to alert the international community on the continued use of COVID mRNA vaccines. This is from December 10th in a publication called the Business Standard.
But how can I bake with my son, though, Jimmy?
Yeah. So just to be clear here, for all of your know-nothing friends who insist that the vaccines were thoroughly tested, emergency use means they skip over all that part and they just release it as is.
Well, I got some good news, Jimmy. Luckily, my friends all stopped getting the shots and they just don't talk about it anymore.
And they just don't talk about it.
Yeah. They don't want to talk about it. It makes them uncomfortable to talk about those things. Just do the thing so we can get back to how we live.
So several doctors and healthcare professionals have signed a petition calling for the immediate suspension. I'm talking about when I say they skipped over all the safety parts. They did safety studies. They did it. But you're supposed to test, as Dr. Fauci said, normally you do it for 10 years.
Yeah, this is emergency, though.
This was an emergency, so they just had to rush it. They did, at the speed of science. At the speed of science. And they didn't even test, according to Pfizer, they didn't even test to see if it stopped transmission.
Yeah.
Because they were working at the speed of science. So that's the part they skipped.
Yeah, crisis initiation is hard, Jimmy.
Yeah. Several doctors and healthcare professionals, have signed a petition calling for the immediate suspension of the COVID-19 mRNA products because they fear the jabs could be contributing to an alarming rise in excess deaths. A petition known as the Hope Accord, attracting signatures from around the world, went online recently to alert the international community on the continued use of COVID mRNA vaccines.
Wait, the thing that protects people may be contributing to an alarming amount of deaths? That talk about a union of opposites.
These vaccines using gene-based technology.
Oh, that sounds good.
Were given emergency use authorization as one of the tools to address the coronavirus pandemic. A growing body of evidence suggests that the widespread rollout of the novel COVID-19 mRNA vaccine products is contributing to an alarming rise in disability and excess deaths, reads the Hope Accord petition.
Invest in disability drugs and funeral homes. That's my advice.
The point is to stop listening to your idiot friends. That's the point. The new technology was granted emergency use authorization to address a situation that no longer exists. Going forward, the burden of proof falls on those still advocating for these products to compellingly demonstrate that they are resulting aren't resulting in net harm, meaning that they're not doing more bad than good. Until such evidence is presented, regulators should suspend their use as a matter of standard medical precaution, it notes.
Were they going to recommend unprotected breathing?
This is like saying we should suspend the use of hand grenades for toddlers until we could do more testing. The petition has been followed up by... It's like that. It's not the same thing. It's like that.
Well, who's going to fight in Ukraine?
The petition has been followed up by an open letter this week to the General Medical Council of the United Kingdom, drafted by British Indian consultant cardiologist Dr. Asim Malhotra, who has a long campaigned for more evidence-based approach to all COVID vaccines. Serious harms from the vaccine have been confirmed from a combination of clinical, mechanistic, randomized controlled trials, observational, pharmacovigilance, and autopsy data. Some people say their arteries turn to rubber bands.
Like the fruit I buy from Bill Gates' fruit thing?
Of course, it has nothing to do with the shot. Nothing. In these studies, the majority of deaths that occurred within 2 weeks of taking the vaccine died as a result of the mRNA product, he writes. The majority of deaths that occurred within 2 weeks of taking the vaccine died as a result of the mRNA product, he writes. There is undeniable evidence that there are serious risks associated with the COVID-19 vaccine for at least some individuals. As of right now, the data is clear that the vaccines cause greater harm than benefit, he cautions. Meanwhile, the online petition calls for independent investigation to be properly resourced to allow a comprehensive reevaluation of all COVID-19 vaccine products. It states there must be a full exploration of mechanisms of harm to provide insight into their impact on the human body, both short and long term. So come on now, just conflating someone falling over dead shortly after getting the vaccine. That's like trying to find a connection between constant heroin use and Jim Morrison being found dead in an overdose bathtub.
Yeah. What about climate change? Did they look into that yet?
You know,
that's what it is.
You're reading too many comic books or maybe medical journals. I'm not sure which.
Research.
Effectiveness must be reassessed through a comprehensive review of actual clinical impact on illness and mortality, as opposed to synthetic results based on modeled assumptions. We call on the scientific community to come forward with findings from unpublished COVID-19 vaccine studies. And there's one coming out from Yale that they're suppressing right now. Right now. So we're going to find out on December 18th. If they release it or not. This will help mitigate publication bias, whereby unfavorable results were often rejected or withheld due to fears of reputational damage. Crucially, government bodies and the pharmaceutical industry must also provide full transparency, granting access to previously undisclosed atomized patient-level data from clinical trials and surveillance programs. Really?
I'll never forget how Netanyahu tested it out on Israelis first.
Yes.
In exchange for giving the information. So experimenting on them, basically. Hilarious. No wonder they like him.
How about you put down the microscope and just take a look around? How about you just look at the people suffering and then try to convince yourself that they're all identically crazy all at once? Can't be you. You're never the problem.
Yeah, you've got to protect your reputation, which, by the way, is great.
These cumulative actions will help determine any real-world benefit of these products versus the true extent of the damage caused.
Oh, look into what's the safe brand of cigarette to smoke too at Tulsa.
Yeah, and look. So again, I'm not saying that the vaccine is not safe and effective. I'm saying it is. I'm saying these doctors must be crazy. All these people from all around the world who are calling for actual evidence. There must be nuts. They want actual scientific evidence and access to data. That's just crazy. All you should do is listen to the CDC and the FDA, and they say the vaccines are great. They're safe and effective.
You said they want to ban vaccines for my children, is what I just heard. They want to snatch the vaccine out of my child's outstretched hands like a lollipop.
I think all those doctors must be crazy because why would you go against what the CDC or the FDA is saying? It's so safe and effective. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe it's not a bad idea to get all the data. Maybe it's not a bad idea to get the people who are selling you these vaccines to have to come up with the data that shows you the harm-benefit ratio. Maybe that's not a bad idea.
That's a violation of their privacy. You might as well ask them to whip it out.
But we don't even have the problem that this emergency youth authorization was created for. We don't even have that problem anymore. The president of the United States says we're not in a pandemic anymore.
People are raw dogging the air, and you think there's no problem, Jimmy?
People are raw dogging the air right now.
Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to bake with my gay son, Jimmy. So maybe you ought to think about other people. Stop raw dogging all the time.
Raw dogging. Anyway, so I saw that article today on Apple News. And so when my producer grabbed it, he got it from this place, Business Standard. I saw it on Apple News. So this is a story being reported everywhere.
Looks like those pardons are going to come rolling in.
Yep. I say
I guess the pardons and the data are coming in.
Look for the preemptive pardons to come right before the data does about the COVID-19 vaccine. I'm going to guess those pardons come right before RFK Jr. gets his hands on that data.
You know what makes me laugh is whenever people talk about UFOs or something, they go, well, the government doesn't want people to panic. And I always go, what? You don't want people to panic? That's
all they want us to do. Panic about Russia, panic about the COVID virus, they want you to panic about white supremacists.
Why would you do all those false flags? The false flags of history going back, I guess, to Fort Sumter we learned today.
That's right. That's right. Okay. Of course they want you to panic. Come see us doing live shows. We'll be in Los Angeles, Honolulu, Baltimore, Atlantic City, Cohoes, New York, Providence, Rhode Island. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets and only jimmydore.com.